So we're going to start talking about binding engines, and before we can explain what a binding engine is, we're going to need a bit of a sandbox environment to play with it. So this is a template application using a couple of different CRS libraries. So the very first thing before we even get to what is a binding engine, how do I use it, is that we just going to want to show you how to create an application. And so on the Cape Raven GitHub account, there is a CRS applications template. I'll also put the link in the description. So to start a new application is actually quite easy. You click on the use template button. We'll just call this binding-sandbox. Keep it as a public repository. Create template. And so this will create a project within your Git repository based upon that template. And you can now go and open this up in GitHub Desktop, clone it to your machine, and you are ready to go. Alright, I've opened up the application in JetBrains, and you can see that we have an application folder, source, packages, components. So everything is kind of set up for application development. Packages containing all of the modules that we need. We've actually moved completely away from Node.js with this. We're pretty much just working with Dino at this juncture now. So once you've actually gotten the application, you don't have to npm install anything like that. You can just run the application and you're ready to go. So let's open up the app here quick. You can see that it loads up. It's got a little bit of a side menu, and the form default screen. You can start typing a name, and as you start typing it, you'll see that the UI updates. This is because the binding engine is already enabled on this application. Just having a quick look at the form JavaScript and HTML file, you'll notice that there isn't a lot of JavaScript actually going on here. This is actually also superfluous, but very often, you do want to create some resources during the construction of these things. Most of what's happening is actually driven through the HTML. So we can see here part of the binding syntax now, where we say that the value property of this input has a binding to it, and it binds to an object called data that has a property called first name, and the same goes for this one here. And then at the div at the bottom, you can see that we have a string, and part of the string we have the same syntax as what we do with string literals or string templates, depending on how you want to pronounce that. That also has those binding expressions inside of it there. And so when I change the value of the input, this string gets updated, and when I update this one, this also gets updated. And so this is like the starting point of binding engines, and as to why we need it. I'll go in a little bit more detail on this on the next video.